In chapter 2 of Detmer, we talked about professional preferences and differences, and now they're looking in chapter 3 at personal preferences and differences, and of course these also impact our successful collaboration. To serve students best, it's obvious that we have to think together but in different ways. The very differences we bring to the group enriches the information we have in order to plan programs. But how do we work with one another to bring those differences together and provide the very best programming for students? And what we have to recognize is our own personalities are very distinguishable one from another, and how we approach things, even if we agree upon them, may be different from those of some of our colleagues. And so just to be first aware of your own preferences and styles and recognize when others use different ones, how you react to that might be important. So you may actually agree on some things and not realize that you're just coming at the same thing from a different angle. Adult differences that we can use constructively in school. The members of the team may have differences that can be pulled together in communicating. Sometimes we know when we teach that students hear different things than we intend, or we need to explain things to them in multiple ways. And the same thing can happen within any group when we're expressing our ideas, when we bring our own personality into it, and the way we communicate. We may express our ideas differently. We may not listen in the same way. We may not be as active a listener as we could be. We also solve problems in different ways. Some people are very methodical and slow about thinking about a problem. Other people are quick to action and very often want to start with one thing to see if it's a trial and error sort of approach. And so once again, this has little to do with our professional differences, but these personalities that we bring to any group can have an impact. And something that continually can cause disagreement among those of us in education is how we evaluate students and how we report those evaluations. What do grades mean? How should students with disabilities be evaluated? How do we compare their work with that of typical students, etc.? So this is something that's very often most difficult to work out, but it's critical to the evaluation of our programming to know that our consultation led to productive kinds of methods and that they're in fact working for the student. There's a great deal of information in Figure 3.3 on page 73 about demonstrating respect and the constructive use of personal preferences. And so sometimes it's just a stop and check yourself kind of thing. I sometimes interrupt people and I don't mean to interrupt them because it might be because we agree and I want to finish their sentence for some reason. So we can have traits that we don't necessarily recognize that could be misinterpreted by other folks. And so kind of taking a look at, this is how I prefer to operate personally. How does that mesh with my other colleagues, and how should I use the information about myself to better understand them? There's a nice review of the competencies that are necessary in collaboration. In the book, it's on page 81. It talks about being facilitative, which involves things like being non-judgmental about other folks' ideas, listening carefully, being open to new ideas, that kind of thing. The caring piece is talking about being responsive to the other collaborators, considering them information, being thoughtful about what they've said, also being reliable as a committee member. Knowledgeable is an obvious competency we have to be. If we're not bringing our own personal expertise and knowledge to the group, then we have no purpose in being there. And then again, the ethical piece, which your authors talk about in every chapter, but it also involves a lot around what is shared and what isn't, preserving other people's privacy, around the student themselves, of course, but also preserving the privacy of your other collaborators and their opinions as you go through and discuss things openly to come to solution. All of the things that happen in that group should be confidential. In chapter 3 of Detmer, they're talking about